The spring air splintered with a scream so keen it could have cut through steel, and then the earth-shattering thud of hooves and the crazy clatter of plastic chairs flying like frantic birds. It was the sort of sight that would have been comical in a film. But here in my field, it was a disaster. Hovering on the brink of fatal streamers wildly danced in the wind as partygoers in garish floral shirts tumbled over grass, avoiding three huge longhorn bulls which strutted through the throng with the untroubled conceit of monarchs. One bull, a great bullying creature with sides-long horns, halted to sniff at a cake table before turning it casually over in midair as if tired of the whole business. Off to one side, Lisa, the self-appointed empress of the HOA, stood frozen by my splintered fence, grasping the garden shears she'd used to hack her way in mere hours before her eyes were drawn to mine wide with shock. Her jaw unhinged. I didn't blink. "You shouldn't have touched the gate," I told, my voice low, but biting enough to cut through the mayhem 3 days before I'd seen something suspicious about my side fencia steel reinforced fence I'd constructed to keep my pin separate from the HOA's spotless suburbia. It wasn't paranoia that had impelled me to make it so secure. It was the knowledge that on the other side of that fence lived people who had the world revolve. According to their fancies, my bulls were friendly giants if left to themselves. But if some idiot strayed into their domain, the scene would not be pleasant that morning. I saw faint scratches on the gate's lock, as if someone had been probing it with a butter knife my motion sensors had pinged twice around midnight, and when I brought up the camera video footage there, she was Lisa. Flashlight bitten between her teeth, sawing at my padlock like a wannabe cat burglar. I nearly laughed at the blind, stupid audacity of her stupidity. Lisa had been a thorn in my side since she'd rolled into the neighborhood 2 years ago, declaring herself HOA president in an election. Nobody else was aware of. She governed with an iron clipboard, making edicts like requiring beige trash cans identical to one another, prohibiting wind chimes over 5 inches, and once issuing a citation on an elderly couple for psychologically disruptive garden gnomes. Her control obsession didn't end at HOA boundaries, been after my property. Labeling it an eyesore and a hazard, I'd kept her in check. But she was persistent, and now she'd crossed a line that Thursday. A flyer showed up in every HOA mailbox, its bubbly fond inviting a spring fling garden party in the scenic open field by the ridge. It didn't say that said field was my private property, or that the fence contributed to my livestock pen. My neighbor dropped one off, laughing, "Guess you're hosting now." I went storming over to confront Lisa, but she pretended not to know what the flyer meant, saying it was symbolic, and my fence was a view-blocking nuisance, a view of what exactly? My barn. My bulls. She didn't care to hear any patch of earth not covered in her tacky lawn. Flamingos was fair game. That night I installed a new padlock and placed a second trail cam by morning. The gate was missing, neatly cut out and leaned to the side like a stage prop. There stood Lisa smiling with a clipboard, overseeing a party tent crew and screaming about adding a bounce house. My teeth grinded so hard I thought they'd shatter. "You've got 30 seconds to get out of here before I call the sheriff?" I warned. She laughed. "Guests are coming, you'll be glad me later." Legally, I was stuck. The invaded section had no trespassing signs affixed. I procrastinated. If I pushed too hard without evidence, Lisa would spin me as the villain. So I waited. My bulls, Hank Nitro and Bourbon, were supposed to return from a friend's ranch that night, after pasture renovations. I phoned, spurred their return, and by dark, they were grazing behind a gated fence with a digital lock. Only my key fob might be open the following day. Lisa's party broke out. Streamers, coolers, a karaoke machine blasting yacht rock, and stranger in polo shirt wandering my property like it was a wildlife reserve. Lisa even built an HOA VIP cabana bar under a top hat cabana. Then about 4 p.m., everything fell apart. A child, maybe 7, yanked on the gate, and some oblivious dad in cargo pants assisted him swinging it open, thinking it was for show. Dust erupted, snorts resounded, and my bulls sauntered in. They didn't pay. They didn't have to. Their very presence provoked pandemonium. A woman plunged into a cooler. A man fell off a plastic table, and teenagers ran into thistles. Lisa remained stock-still, a skewer of grilled pineapple clutched in her hand like a charm. I mounted a slope at the rear of the barn, whistle in one hand, fob key in the other, and blew a loud note. The bulls stopped, mid-step turned, and ambled back to the pen like actors, stage left departing. Silence descended. Lisa's eyes had jerked up as my drone hummed over its red light blink recording. She let fall the shears. The following morning, I awoke to a voicemail from Deputy Carter requesting my footage and an HOA group chat entitled, "Incident at the Field Emergency Meeting Tonight." Lisa was in damage control mode, but she would be swimming in her own deceit. I sipped coffee and evaluated the drone and trail cam Fujijia piece of comedy and karma. It captured Lisa laughing as she clipped my lock-welcoming visitors onto my property and gloating about fixing the ugly fence issue next the bull rampage, her ghost-white complexion and the drone's unblinking gaze. At the sheriff's office, Deputy Carter smirked as I handed him the evidence. "She cut your fence, hosted a party on your property, and now accuses you of unleashing wild beasts," he said. I nodded. He vowed a report to the county prosecutor and advised me to prepare for Lisa's legal tantrum. Neighbors sent texts of support, some poking fun at renting my bulls for family reunions. Lisa's garden party was then the neighborhood's new favorite scandal at the HOA meeting. I sat silently as Lisa, wearing a dramatic neck brace, asserted she was hurt in a stampede and demanded inspections of my property face. She labeled my bulls a public safety threat. No one said until Ron, an old board member, asked, "Lisa, didn't you cut his fence?" She stuttered. I raised my hand, stepped forward, and laid out the evidence photos of her, with bolt cutters footage of her instructing the trespass, and a photo of her HOA event zone sign on my land. I explained my bull's federal training credentials. The room fell silent. Lisa accused me of weaponizing livestock. I asked why she was laughing on tape after trimming my fence. She had no reply. Someone growled, "Lisa, sit down." The tension was broken, and her reign began to disintegrate. I filed a civil complaint for trespassing, property damage, and endangerment. Lisa countersued for trauma and reputational damage, supported by a photoshopped picture of Bourbon with glowing red eyes. Her attorney, a local hack who advertised on bus benches, was no match for my proof. Then a game changer, an anonymous USB with HOA security footage, rebels against leaving Lisa and two others scheming the fence cutting and practicing deceit. My lawyer included it in our toolbox at the following HOA meeting. I projected the video for everyone to witness. Lisa walked out knocking over a chair while half the room followed and the other half applauded. The trust of the community was mine in court. Lisa's attorney stumbled, drawing parallels between my bulls and attack dogs. The judge, unfazed, dismissed his drama. Lisa testified in tears, insisting the bulls pursued her soul. My lawyer, faced with footage timestamps and Deputy Carter's confirmation of the bull's holding and Lisa's admission to having cut the fence, the judge decided in my favor, dismissing Lisa's lawsuit, ordering her to compensate for damages, and permitting the ruling's publication. Lisa hobbled out, neck brace and all her lawyer, into the ether. The neighborhood erupted memes of Lisa and Bull's caption, "Just add glitter," flooded group chats. A petition to remove her from the HOA picked up steam, and her last meeting attracted scarcely 10 individuals. Her resignation letter, acrid and curt, landed the following day. Her house was put on the market, a smiley face wearing off on the sign. The HOA changed with cow-typed cookies and bull-proofer jokes at meetings. My bulls went viral. Hanks, Instagram reached 6,000 followers, and I was asked to train others. Even inspiring a sculpture, I referred to it as the reckoning, as I whistled to Nitro by my fixed fence, knowing Lisa would never forget the day she learned what occurs when you go beyond a line protected by horns and reality.